Welcome back, folks, for another fun reloading video. Today's topic at hand, we're going to be doing another load development in 9mm. We've got a new bullet to try out. Today we have the NOE 358-131 hollow point mold. And we're just going to dive right on in today. Here we have our projectile. They are currently sized at 358. We'll be doing some further testing with 38 special loads, but for today, I'm going to have to size these down to 356 real quick. So I first started sorting them out by color and then weighing them. The weight's very consistent. It's within a grain or two. So we're going to be doing 3 different loads. I'm going to treat them all as the same weight bullet, but I'm going to pick 3 different powders, and this will just help me visually be able to keep them separate. So we can see these are 358 right now, so I'm going to size them down to 356, which is actually more appropriate for 9mm. However, you're going to have to slug your own barrel and see what your gun likes. Mine, it'll eat up anything all day. I can run 358s through it, no problem. But for the sake of everybody learning together, we're going to size them down to 356, and that's what 9mm is generally ran at. And of course, I'm talking about generally lead bullets or plated bullets will be 356 for 9mm. To size our bullets down, we're going to be using our Lee 356 diameter push-through sizing die. You just pop the top off. It comes with a stem, and this actually goes down here in your ram. And then we're going to screw this die body down here. And as long as you're not just bottoming out, you're good to go. There we go. That's nice. That's finger tight. And then we can throw it with a top on here to catch our bullets. If we're doing several hundred, you can replace the top there, and that'll allow you to fill it up further. But we've only got about 30 bullets here. And you just simply set it on there and push through. Okay, so apparently the lid is also good from keeping you from dropping them all over the floor like an idiot. But this is real easy to pull off. Oh, there's another one. So like I was saying, this is real easy to pull off. Just watch them from falling out of the bottom. We can dump them in our cup, and then I'll just unscrew the die body here, and we can turn it over, and they should fall out. There we go. I just had to slap on the last one. And they've all been sized, and now we're good to go. And now we're down to 356 diameter, and we are good to move on. Real quick, we'll take a look at our brass. I don't have 30 identical pieces, but I have 3 different sets of 10 that all match. I've got 10 pieces of Blazer. We have 10 Winchester head stamps, and then we have 10 Federal head stamps. And since most of the time we always shoot mixed pistol brass, I'm not too worried about the difference in case capacity here, since we're going to have a different powder in each head stamp. This is merely another way for me to identify between the separate loads while I'm on the range and trying to find the brass as they fly out of the gun. We've got our bullets, we've got our brass. We have a couple options for our primers, the standard CCI 500 small pistol primer, and we also have the Magnum 550 small pistol primers. I don't think I'm going to break into these yet today, but after our range trip, if we notice there's any crazy amount of unburnt powder, maybe we'll kick it up to a Magnum primer and see if that helps our ignition at all. For our powder selection, we have a couple different options up here, arranged from fastest burning to slowest burning. And while testing this bullet, I would like to use an extremely fast powder, and I would also like to use an extremely slow powder to see what kind of velocities we can reach. And also for my third selection, I'm going to try and use up some of this Titegroup here that I've been sitting on for a while, and there's not enough to do 50 or 100 rounds, but if I can get rid of a little bit of that, I'm going to do that here today. So starting over here on the faster end, Hodgdon only has data with Titewad with a 124 grain bullet, which is just fine. That's in the same weight class I'm working with here today. And they're only giving us a maximum velocity of 942 feet per second. Now this is only at 3.4 grains, so this could be another great economical plinking powder. Now for clays off of their website, they have a 3-grain charge with a 124 grain bullet and a 130 grain bullet, and these are both coming out of the barrel right around 850 feet per second. Next up is a powder I've got some experience with. We have 700X here, and while 700X is a very economical powder, it's usually $22, $23 a pound. You're using maybe 3 to 4 grains per shot, but it's never going to get you into that really higher velocity area where we're trying to reach with some of these powders, and it's never going to be quite as economical as some of these powders down here. So while our 700X is a great economical powder, you get a lot of bang for your buck. I've been using that a lot recently, so we're going to pass on that for today. Fourth here, we have some Titegroup, and I'm just going to straight up say I'm going to pick this powder because I've been sitting on this bottle for a little while now, and I'm trying to use it up. For unique here, we can find data for the Spear Gold Dot Hollow Point at 124 grains, and off of Alliance website, they're going to say that 5.8 grains of unique is going to give us 1,180 feet per second. While unique is the highest velocity off of our list, I'm testing this in another bullet right now, and while we still have to wait to get to the range, I'm going to hold off doing any other unique testing at this time. And since we're not using unique, that'll leave us with Longshot here, and the Hodgdon data is going to put a 124 grain bullet with 5.7 grains moving at 1162. So with 1/10 less grain of powder, we're only losing about 18 or 20 feet per second compared to unique. So I think Longshot is going to be our ticket here on the high end. And we'll not forget that I'm a cheap ass, and this powder cost $32, while this powder cost me $26. So here we have our remaining powder choices. I've already decided for the slower burning end, we're going to go with Longshot and see what kind of velocity we can push out. We've also already picked Titegroup, which actually gives us a fairly good velocity at almost 1,100 feet per second with only a 4-grain charge. And here for the faster burning powders, I've never used Titewad or clays for a 9mm, so I think I'm just going to randomly pick Titewad for today. Here we have our powders we've picked out and our charges. With Titewad, we're going to go with 3.3 grains. Titegroup, we're going to go at 3.9 grains, and then with Longshot here, we're going to go at 5.7 grains. We made up a dummy round and found our overall length, seated at that last groove there, is 1.125 inches. And again, we're just going to be going with the standard CCI 500 primers for now. And now we're finally ready to get loading. Here I've got my RCBS primer tray that I've had for years now, and it has never failed me. However, I was at the store the other day, and the salesman said, "Here, son, try that good old MTM primer flip tray. This bad boy right here, it'll decrease your group size by half." Whether or not there's any truth to that, I picked it up anyways because it was $2 and they didn't have any powder. So I got something there anyways just to give them a couple bucks. Support your local stores, y'all. But maybe in a later video, we can test whether or not a primer tray can make a difference in your group size. Man, I am on a roll tonight, guys. I just popped open this case here thinking that I had 30, and I went ahead and threw those 3 across the room because I'm a clumsy dummy. So now we're going to do it a little different. So our once well-organized test of 30 shots has now been reduced to 3 groups of 9 shots. Just don't let my wife know, because that was basically like throwing about $400 out the window. Anyways, let's put these into our group improving flip tray. Ooh, that fits nicely. Careful now. And, oh shoot. Score. Wait, we're not home yet, folks. We gotta get these last couple to flip for us, either by working as intended or by running into another one. Oh, no. Come on, last guy. Let's do this. La la la. Done. Time. And now there's still one more flip involved, folks. This is where the groups really tighten up. Can you land the last flip? There we go. He takes the lid off, and we are home free. Now we pick them up. So I'm going to be sizing, priming, seating, and crimping over on the Dillon, but I'm going to be throwing my powder with the Uniflow. So we've got our primer tube loaded up here. I'm going to just be priming after we size on stage 1 here. And then on stage 2, my powder measure is empty right now, so we're just expanding that neck. And then I'm going to take those out and throw our powder charges with all of our different powders before moving on to seating. And there's our first 10 primers. We've also expanded those necks over on stage 2. I'm going to go ahead and prime the rest of these here, and then we will start throwing powders. So our first powder today, we're going to be using Hodgdon Tightwad. This was on the shelf the other day at my local store. Again, this one's been sitting in someone's storage for a while as well. Based on this metal cap they haven't done in several years. Here's a quick look at our Titewad. It's just your standard small flaky powder. This happens to be a pretty bulky powder. It was only about half of this bottle here that came out and filled up this entire tube here on the Uniflow. We'll just try one real quick to check our case capacity. And yeah, that's a good fill. I don't think we'll be able to double charge that without spilling over. And we certainly won't be compressed. And a quick visual inspection here to verify all of our cases have the same charge. For our federal brass tightwad loads, I'm going to be using this wider hollow point with the light blue here. And because we set up our seating die with only one base loaded up here, I'm just going to run them all through one at a time so we have a consistent overall length. And there we have our first loaded round there. Now that we already did all those, we should probably check that they plunk in and out there. Plunk in and out there. So we'll just try a few at random. Right in and right out. We are good to go here. Next up on our list, we have some Hodgdon Titegroup here. And we're going to be running 3.9 grains through our Winchester brass there. And I don't have a lot of this left, but we're going to see what we can do with it today. We just don't have a whole lot of this left, which is great. We have enough for 9 rounds, so let's get our powder measure dialed in and let's go. So just for science, let's see how much this is dumping with the same setting compared to the Tightwad. Our last one was throwing 3.3 grains of Tightwad. The same volumetric setting here is giving us 4.9 grains of Titegroup. Here's a nice close look at our Titegroup. It's also a nice flat flaky powder, and as you can see it's more of a gray or a silver tint, whereas our Tightwad had sort of a greenish hue to it. I think we're dialed in. Let's just check our case fill real quick, and that's why some people hate Titegroup. We have 3.9 grains here, but as you can see, you could easily do a double throw. Let's test that actually. Yeah, here's a double throw. And that could be very dangerous, so be ultra careful with Titegroup here. So we're going to throw our 9 charges here and verify that they all look similar. And as far as I can tell, we look pretty even here with our 9 charges of Titegroup. Our last powder of the day, our slowest burning option, we have some Hodgdon Longshot. And since this one's a little bit slower burning, we're hoping to be able to get a couple extra 100 feet per second out of this powder compared to our faster other 2 powders. Here's a nice look at our Longshot. Again, like the others, this is also a flake powder, and again with the gray or sort of blackish tint to it. I haven't used Longshot a whole lot, but this seems a lot more dense than the other 2 powders we're working with today. So we'll throw one now that we've got it dialed in, and we'll just check our case fill real quick. And it looks about like the others. We might be about half full. Again, be careful with the double throws here. It looks like it's fairly dense again, so just watch out for that and try and keep all your limbs intact. And we've only got 7 more of these, so let's knock that out real quick. And one more check on our case fill before we go over and seat our bullets. So we're back over here at the Dillon, and I've got to seat these last 2 groups of charges. And again, I'm going to just run them through one at a time so we can keep that consistent overall length. There's all of our Titegroup loads. And there we have our Longshot all seated up there. And there we have it, folks. We've got Tightwad, Titegroup, and Longshot all loaded up and ready to go. Again, these were the NOE 358 131 hollow point. If you have ever loaded up any of these in your 9mm, let me know how that went and what powders you were using. And if you made it all the way through the video this far, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So make sure to stay tuned for that range report coming up as soon as we get some better weather and I can actually get to the range. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more. We will see you in the next video.